Call the Super Bowl the biggest TV night in America if you want. The part that keeps getting pulled up on Monday is the part that lasts only 13 minutes. Super Bowl 59 averaged 127.7 million viewers, and the halftime show pulled 133.5 million. That gap is to tell. The performance did not borrow attention from football. It pulled extra people into the room. So here's the question. Why does a 13-minute halftime show keep printing views long after the final whistle, while even great games fade into a few highlights and a final score? Let's go back to the early 1990s. Halftime was the part you drifted through. You grabbed food. You argued about the first half. You might not even be in the room. Then Super Bowl 26 came along in 1992, and Fox ran a special In Living Color episode right in the middle of the game. Time put it around 28 million viewers. And the real punchline was what it did to CBS. Reporting at the time said CBS lost about 10 ratings points at halftime and blew more than a fifth of its audience during the break. That's when the NFL got the message. Halftime was no longer a bathroom break. It was competition. A year later, the league answered with Michael Jackson at Super Bowl 27. The goal was simple: keep people in their seats and make the break feel like the main card. From there, halftime turned into a shared Monday language. If you missed it live, you still walked into school or work with the same problem. Somebody was going to mention a moment and you either saw it or you were about to get spoiled in public. A full football game asks for commitment. It asks for context. It asks you to care about the stakes for 3 hours. Halftime has a different job. It has to make sense to someone who doesn't know the score, doesn't know the roster, and doesn't even know the rules. During Super Bowl 54, Google searches basically exposed how many casual viewers were watching with zero context. Media Post reported U.S. searches for how many quarters in football jumped by more than 5,000% during the game. And right after halftime, searches also spiked 3,500% for Shakira lyrics and 2,450% for the J-Lo Tour 2020. And that's the hidden audience halftime is built for. Here's a behind-the-scenes detail that helps explain why the show is built the way it is. The stage has to appear, deliver a full concert, then disappear fast enough for football to resume. Coverage has described crews doing it in minutes, with hundreds of people in pieces moving in a choreographed rush. Wired has described the changeover like a pit crew, with roughly 800 people moving parts into place and getting it done in under 8 minutes. They wheel out modular platforms, lock in camera marks, run power and audio lines, then clear it again before the second half. And that constraint pushes the show toward big, readable visuals and clear beats that land immediately on camera, because the broadcast cannot wait for you to warm up. It needs impact on the first shot, and that extensive planning makes the replay simple. A 40-second game highlight usually needs a setup line. A 40-second halftime segment explains itself the second the music starts. Money reinforces the point. Modern production can run into millions, with figures around 13 million. That spend only makes sense if the performance keeps earning attention after Sunday night. The Super Bowl is one of the only sports events where a large slice of the audience is there for everything except the sport. Ads, pop culture, the shared party, the music. A Numerator survey reported in industry coverage captured that split. About 26% said they mainly watched for the commercials, and about 25% said they mainly watched for the halftime show. That is roughly half the audience admitting the football is not the main reason for showing up. Those viewers behave differently. They drift in late. They miss the early drives. They surface when the room gets louder. Then, the next day, they look for the one thing they can watch without any football context. The halftime show is a complete package they can finish before their coffee gets cold. That's how halftime travels into corners the game never reaches. Music fandom pages, reaction channels, Group chats that never mention a linebacker unless he shows up in celebrity news. Once the game ends, sports coverage tightens into the final score and a few decisive plays. Halftime doesn't tighten. It breaks into shareable pieces. Short segments flood feeds. One lyric gets debated. One outfit choice becomes a headline. Entertainment outlets cover it. Sports outlets cover it. Music outlets cover it. And every single one of those conversations sends people back to the same video to check it themselves. Reuters reported that 30-second Super Bowl ad slots reached up to 8 million. Brands are not paying that to be seen once. They are paying to sit inside the conversation that keeps rolling. You can see the second life in the official uploads. The NFL's YouTube post of the Super Bowl 56 halftime show, the one led by Dr. Dre with Snoop Dogg, Eminem, Mary J. Blige, and Kendrick Lamar, has racked up about 376 million views till date. This explains why people treat the performance like a classic clip they can pull up anytime, even years later. Sometimes the replay is shopping, not arguing. Vogue reported post-Super Bowl search spikes like 317% for a Mary after Travis Kelce's tunnel look, and 13% for Off-White after Usher's halftime fit. People rewatch because they want the exact brand, the exact piece, and the exact screenshot. Some years, the replay culture is built by controversy. The 2004 Janet Jackson and Justin Timberlake incident turned halftime into a national news event, and it pushed networks toward broadcast delays afterward. Coverage of the aftermath discussed CBS adopting a 5-second precautionary delay for live events. Sometimes the view engine is pure comedy. Katy Perry's 2015 show became a meme factory, and Left Shark outlived the game itself. One sports roundup that tracked halftime audiences put her show at 118.5 million viewers, a high watermark at the time. But the staying power came from the image, not the stat. People replayed it because it was funny, easy to share, and instantly understood, even if you could not name the teams. Other times, the replay is driven by what the performance does to listening habits. After Shakira and Jennifer Lopez performed in 2020, the Wall Street Journal reported that Spotify streams jumped 230% for Shakira and 335% for Lopez in the US. Then the full NFL upload kept compounding the replay cycle, with the league's YouTube post sitting over 330 million views. The Weeknd took the money side of this to a different level. Vogue reported he put in $7 million of his own money to expand the production of his 2021 show. When an artist spends personal money on staging, they are buying a clip that will live longer than the scoreboard. And now the most recent example ties views to pop culture debate. Kendrick Lamar headlined the Super Bowl 59 halftime show in the middle of a widely covered storyline connected to his public feud with Drake. Pitchfork noted the feud context as part of the conversation around the show. Entertainment Weekly also reported a lyric was altered for the broadcast. That combination creates a perfect replay loop. People go back to catch what was said, what was changed for TV, and what their friends insist they heard. It becomes a shared inspection. And shared inspection is why halftime keeps stacking views after the game is over. The league loves halftime because it keeps the Super Bowl bigger than football. When the halftime average can top the game average, the NFL is pulling extra viewers who might not care who wins. And that is insurance for the biggest broadcast it owns. Sponsors love halftime because the show keeps working after Sunday. Pepsi's presenting partnership for the halftime show was reported at about $2.3 billion over a decade. Apple Music replaced Pepsi as the presenting sponsor starting in 2023, and Sports Business Journal reported the deal is worth around $50 million annually. A streaming brand can turn the show into playlists, artist pages, and follow-up content that stays on people's phones after the stadium empties. Artists take the slot for the same reason. The NFL covers production costs. Performers do not get a typical performance fee, and the reward is global exposure that turns into streaming lift, catalog listens, and tour heat that can last for months. Halftime wins this week because it is built to travel. It is short enough to finish in one sitting. It is designed for the camera, so the replay feels clean. It makes sense even if you have no football context. The game ends and the story gets summarized. Halftime ends and people start sending clips, screenshots, arguments, and timestamps. And that is why the views keep stacking long after the final whistle.